When they want to tax us, they compare us to Singapore. When we ask for accountability, they compare us to Sudan.
And they have the normal days.
Amen, amen.
Gee. I kind of get on here.
What next with the corrupt governors? What next with the people who consistently have cases of graft and rape and killings, who are walking free in the corridors of power? What next with them? Because that's what we are protesting against, and it is an unfair question for the youth population to be asked what next if we cannot hold these people to account.
If you're here for the first time and you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing. If you like the video, give the thumbs up, and you can also give a comment in the comment section.
I think the president must accept that this government has failed. And by firing all the CSs, that means you have seen that all sectors are not working. When they want to tax us, they compare us to Singapore. When we ask for accountability, they compare us to Sudan. And so when we say even the parliament must go, we mean that they have lost legitimacy. They do not represent the will of the people. They do not represent, they do not have our best interests at heart. So when they go there, they decide what they want, what benefits them, and it's not about us. It's no longer about the citizen. It is no longer about the Kenyan person.
We foresee good governance first. And I think it's an unfair question for the country to ask if we're still losing 2 billion in a day. It is a very unfair, it's the same way I could still ask this government, why are children going hungry every single day they go to school? What next with the corrupt governors? What next with the people who consistently have cases of graft and rape and killings, who are walking free in the corridors of power? What next with them? Because that's what we are protesting against, and it is an unfair question for the youth population to be asked what next if we cannot hold these people to account. We have had the DCI page consistently come up with all sorts of writings, while we know people who have active cases not being anything, nothing happening to them, while we are being asked as the people who've said we are disgruntled by the amount of corruption, by the amount of death, by the amount of debt, by the amount of hunger in this country. I think it is an unfair question for us to ask. So what we are saying is, we want this issue of corruption sorted out first, because that is possible to sort out without going into another election.
Okay, but you want everybody out?
Yes.
So then how is the corruption sorted?
You do realize that the people who are perpetrating this corruption are the same people that are in office. Because when we were occupying, you saw the protests were organic and they were everywhere. We have been accused of being funded by the Ford Foundation. I have not worked for the past 2 months just for putting the interests of the country ahead. So while they look at it and they think it is such a great inconvenience, it is such a great inconvenience to me as well that my sister cannot afford university education. Lucky for her that she's already privileged, she's already joined. There are people who can no longer join university because of how expensive education has become. There are people who are going to miss out on jobs because they cannot find certificates of good conduct because they are exorbitant. People want them to pay bribes. There are people who will not be able to travel to go and change their lives, whether it's education, who cannot get passports. There are people who will not get identity cards, and therefore their lives are being delayed. So why don't we ask these questions to the people who are looting our future? Because what we are doing when we say Ruto must go, we are just shedding a light and we are pointing a mirror at him and saying, Mr. President, this is what you're giving us and it's not working for us. He is so obsessed with the destruction of property such that when he comes after the police force has killed over 40 people, he takes 11 minutes for him to first condole with us, obsessing over property. What are you doing about the people who are stealing from our future? That's part of what we're interested in knowing. Before we figure out what next steps are, we want this current generation, this current crop of leaders to tell us what it is that they're doing for us currently. Because as it stands, it does not serve us. It does not serve the people that the sovereign people of Kenya. It does not serve us. So we'd rather not have a system at all, because the system we have currently does not work for us.